Our ancestors, white, black, and others, hung, bled, and died right alongside each other to push America towards that more perfect union. If this continues, we will look back and be responsible for the dismantling of the greatest country in the world by reverting to teaching hate and that race is a determining factor on where your destiny lies.
What's going on, America? This is Oliver Mack, the right-winged angel, and I have a very special guest with me today. I have Keisha King. How you doing, ma'am?
Hi, how are you? Hi, everyone.
Hey, I'm doing great, and I just want to thank you for being here. I know you're a very busy person, triggering all these people at these school board meetings, so I'm glad you took some time out to speak to us today. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. You know, anything I can do to help our cause and bring attention to the things that's going on. Glad to be here.
That's right. Awesome. All right. So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you kind of got started doing what you do?
Sure. So you want the long version or the short version?
Hey, we got an hour, so do whatever you need to do to get it out there.
All right. So I'll give you a condensed long version.
Okay. Sounds good.
So like you said, my name is Keisha King. I have two daughters. I'm a mother. And I started to kind of pay attention to what was going on right after the 2016 election. I was having a conversation with a close relative, and we were talking about Black Lives Matter. And at this time, I was a full-on, liberal, just believed everything on CNN, MSNBC, all the mainstream media. I thought it was like legit news. And I did. And so she said that she thought that BLM was good, but she wished they showed up when there was also crime in Black neighborhoods. And so I was like, no, that's just because, there are so many unarmed Black men that are being killed by the police, and, that's more of an issue. And so my education background is in marketing. Mm-hmm. And, we deal with numbers and stuff like that and data. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go and look up the numbers and see how many unarmed Black men have been killed by the police. And so when I went to look it up and I saw the FBI statistics, and it was really strange because the number was very low. It was like less than 20 at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I kept looking because I'm like, okay, that can't be real. That just can't be real. Because at this time, there were still marches in the streets, there were still riots, and there was, a lot going on in 2015, 2016. And so I didn't understand why there was such a response to unarmed Black men being killed, which of course any unjustified shooting by a police officer or, any of those things, justice needs to be served. Yeah. But it didn't warrant the response. So it was really confusing compared to the crime that was in Black neighborhoods, because obviously we want people to live, we don't want anyone to be murdered. And so it prompted me to keep digging on some other things that were, typical stereotypes, I guess, household income and, all these different things. And I ran across Dr. Thomas Sowell, and I was like, I could not believe what I was reading. I couldn't believe I had never heard of this man. Because I considered myself pretty educated and, like I know stuff, I thought. Yeah. But I was grossly, wrong on so many things. And it was just, it was like something in the pit of my stomach. I felt bamboozled. I felt lied to, and I was pissed, I'm like, I really was. I was pissed because I know in the family that I grew up in, we were told, we can do anything we want to do. We can be anything we want to be. But at the same time, we were also told, like, Black people have to work 2 times harder than white folks. Mm-hmm. And, just that racism narrative, like, you can make it, but you're Black, so it's gonna
Yep.
be, this thing. And it just made being Black a burden. And so
Right.
I carried that, I walked in it. And so I just kept reading, found Walter Williams, Milton Friedman, and I was just blown away. And the next thing happened that was an even bigger revelation and even more life transforming was I was sitting on my couch and I was just kind of going over, thinking about all this stuff, this new information that I had come in contact with.
Mhm.
And God spoke to my heart and told me that my skin color had become an idol in my life.
Ooh. Ooh,
Yeah.
that's deep.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes. And when that was revealed to me, it was life changing. It was like all of the weight, the burdens, it was like this heaviness, 10,000 pounds felt lifted off of me.
Yeah.
Because I realized that I'm a woman of Christian faith, and I realized that I was living my life through being Black instead of being
Yep.
a believer, instead of being a Christian. And it was an offense to God, because
Right.
skin color and this focus on skin and what you look and race and all of this stuff, it means it's nothing to God. It's going in the ground. It's just a way for God to express his, love of variety. It's not,
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything. Skin doesn't think, it doesn't form opinions. It's cells, you know what I
Right.
mean? But we put so much emphasis into it as if it has some you know, eccentric, or just some deeper meaning. It really does not.
Yeah.
And so that moment, it changed my life. And so I repented, and I really started to evaluate even my relationship with God. And so, after after doing this, I felt God pushing me to go into politics, and I was like,
Oh.
no,
Yeah.
that's not what I'm gonna do. I'm, you know, I, so oh God, see, no, you don't understand. Let me tell you. So my plan. I'm going to go work for this big marketing firm. That's what,
Mhm.
I thought I was going to get God straight, I
Yeah.
thought I was going to straighten him out on like what I was trying to
What
do.
you
But
wanted. Yep.
right, exactly. But the push, it was so strong. I couldn't let it go. It wouldn't let me
Right.
go. And so I was like, oh my gosh. So like, I really don't want to do this, but it was something I couldn't get rid of. So I was like, oh gosh, I started looking at the Republican Party, because clearly my values did not lie with the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
And so I called up my local Republican Party, and I was like, like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh gosh, because you always hear, Republicans are racist and they're for white
Yep.
people, and they hate Blacks and they're for the rich, and
Yep.
which, by the way, I'm like, well, I don't want to be poor, so why not be for the anyway? That's another story.
Thank you. I said the same thing.
So I went to my first meeting. It was just like nothing big or anything. But they were so welcoming, and just really, it was nothing like, I didn't know what to expect, but it was
Yeah.
nothing like I had imagined, I guess. And from there on, I just started volunteering, became the director of communications for the Jacksonville Young Republicans here.
Nice.
And, just stayed involved and worked for the RNC with Black Voices for Trump. I led the Black Voices for Trump office here in Jacksonville, Florida. And once I left the campaign, I just started reflecting over the campaign about, different things that I saw that the Republican Party needed to be tweaked. So I set out to make that happen. And I've been kind of in the education part, probably because
Mhm.
I have young children in the school system.
Yeah.
And so that led me to my daughter had gotten asked by her teacher what pronoun she wanted to go by. And I was like, she was like, Mom, what's this? Like, why are they asking me this? And so I emailed the teacher, didn't get a response. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to make a big deal. Obviously we didn't answer the question, but I said, just keep your eye out if anything else happens, you know. And
Mhm.
so in true of my daughter's form, her being so much like her mother, she recorded a conversation that they were having in school where the teacher was supposed to be going over some books that they had just brought in or whatever, and they were supposed to be going over the racial themes in the books. Well, the academic portion never came. There was no learning about literature or any of those things. What the teacher did was she started talking to them in their identity groups. So like as an African American child, this, as a LGBTQ child, that, as an Asian. And so she was like breaking them down into these little groups verbally. And the children just started to air their grievances. They just started to complain about how oppressed they were in whatever way that their group identity fit into some type of oppression. It was awful. It was awful. And I had been reading about critical race theory, funny enough, just because I have layers to myself. I have the nerdy side, I have like the spiritual side, I have like my hip hop side, I have, I got all these different sides.
Yeah, that's fine. We all have that.
I know, right? And so I had been reading about critical race theory, and so I noticed it when I saw it when I heard it in the classroom on my daughter's recording. And right around that time, a couple weeks later, the bans and stuff were starting to happen. And so Governor DeSantis was doing his here in Florida. And that's when I made the speech, and he retweeted it. It went viral. And then about 2 weeks ago, I was in Virginia in Loudoun County, where all this uproar has been going on, where it kind of started. Yeah. And I made a comment and I said, we've rallied, we've protested, we've emailed, we've spoke at school board meetings, we've done all these things, and they have not heard a word that we said. And they've actually sent the FBI after us and called us domestic terrorists at this point. I said it, I don't really know what else to do but to have a mass exodus from the public school system. And the entire room stood to their feet and applauded me for about, 30, 35 seconds. It was amazing. And it really let me know like how heavy this is on the hearts of so many parents. Yeah. This is a big deal. And of course it would be, because we don't want our children to be taught to be racist. Those are not the values that we're instilling into our children. We don't want our children to be taught about, all this hypersexualization and gender stuff and the trend. I mean, it's just out of control. Of course we are pissed, of course, and so after that, I'm like, okay, God, mass exodus it is. I got the memo. I'm on it. I got it. So I am, making it my business to help parents get their children out of these, I don't even call them schools. I call them toxic Marxist indoctrination camps. Yep. Because there's no learning going on in these places anymore. They don't deserve to be called schools. So help parents get their babies out of these institutions and get them into a safe and productive learning environment where they can thrive and compete and, be ready for the next phases of life. So that's what I'm doing.
Ooh, I really commend you. That is awesome. You've been doing a lot of great work, and oh my God, it's just amazing. So thank you for everything that you are doing. I wish more people would stand up and just see what's going on and make those changes and speak out and make your voices heard. Because I know there are a lot of parents out there that see what's going on, but they're too afraid to say anything. They're too afraid to go to those school board meetings. They're too afraid to speak out because they don't want to be called a racist. They don't want to be called a white supremacist, a homophobe, a transphobe, all the stuff that they call conservatives just because we think with logic and reasoning instead of emotion. But there are a lot of people that won't do that. And I know that your story is going to spark a lot of people to be brave and be bold and step out there. Because if we don't, can you imagine what they will do in these schools? Can you imagine what they will be teaching our children? Eventually, they will have our children saying, well, I'm not going to listen to mommy and daddy anymore because my teacher told me that my mommy and daddy are racist. My mommy and daddy don't like trans people. They don't like homosexual people. So I shouldn't listen to them anymore. They're hateful. My mommy and daddy are hateful. This type of stuff that our children are going to be saying unless we stand up and unless we fight. And thank you for fighting because we need that. We definitely do need that. Now, I wanted to go back to something you said that was like really, really powerful. And I wanted people to kind of hone in on that to just get that type of perspective when you talk about, you know, your race, like your race, you felt like you were idolizing your race, because this is something that I have said before. And I think a lot of Black people do this. I would say the majority of Black people do this. Like our whole identity is focused around being Black, right? That's where a lot of our confidence comes from. Like, but it's a false confidence because it is based on something that you have no control over. You know, you hear a lot of Black people talking about melanin this, melanin that, Black power, Black empowerment, like all this blackity black stuff, right? Everything is about being Black, right? So we don't focus on skills. We don't focus on those other things that make us special, like being able to, I don't know, speak up, being able to learn a new thing, like being smart, being powerful, regardless of what race you are. Like we don't focus on that enough in the Black community, and I wish we did, but everything is so focused around being Black. And when we're conservatives, and this is why they call us stuff like, you know, Uncle Toms and Coons, and they say that we don't belong in the Black community because they feel like conservatives view being Black just like they do, right? So we think our power is in our skin color just like they do. So when they tell us we're not a part of the Black community, that's supposed to hurt us because that's our whole identity, right? So I wish more people would wake up to that, but it's just so hard for them because that's where they get all their confidence from. That's where they get their value from, is being Black, and they don't want to let go of that, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, and I really think that was very powerful what you said, and I just wanted people to kind of hear that again, because that's how we want people to look at themselves. Like, it's not about race. It's not about race. We are all human beings. God made us all human beings, made us the same. Like you said, he just wanted a little variety. Just sprinkle a little color over here, sprinkle a little non-color over here. Like we're just variety. Like if everybody was the same color, it would be so boring to look at everyone walking around. But God is up there looking down at all the pretty shades of brown and peach, like my son says. So it's just cool. But
yeah,
that doesn't make us any different.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. You know, we have in nature, you know, we have different varieties of everything, different trees, different flowers, different birds, different dogs, different cats. I mean, everything. God loves variety. And it's so funny that, you know, when I hear people talking about melanin, because literally everybody has melanin.
Everybody.
We just have varying amounts of melanin, but everybody's got it, you know, unless you're like albino. I think those are the only people that don't have melanin. But
they're cool too.
What's that?
I said they're cool too.
Oh yes, absolutely. But I'm just, you know, it's like people go around talking about melanin and black this and that. It's like, you know, it's such a you know, I really do believe it's such an offense to God. Like, why are you? I made you so much more than that. Why would you focus on this tiny part of you that wasn't supposed to be lifted up to this standard? There's nothing that should be lifted up, you know, to a level of idolization, but him, and you know, nothing to be worshipped but him. And you know, I think he is very offended when we put so much emphasis on being black. And then, you know, you'll hear people say, well, that's just because we were always looked down upon for being black. It's like, true. Yeah. People did do that, but that doesn't mean you do what they did. They paid so much attention to your skin color and made it everything that you are. And instead of us rejecting that, which we did at one point in time. Now we've embraced that and we've said, okay, yes, I am going to put all this emphasis into being Black, and that is going to define exactly who I am. It's like, no, that's not, that wasn't supposed to work that way. We weren't supposed to actually buy into that thing. We were supposed to continue to reject it.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I reject that premise because I have so much more to offer the world than my skin color. Like my brain, our brains are all the same color inside, right? So I think that's the most powerful tool I have. It's not my skin color, and I'm not oppressed either. So I take that.
We're not.
Yeah, take that to the bank. All right, so all right, so let's talk about the school thing, because we both have children, and I just feel our children are in danger in these public schools, because they're trying to indoctrinate our children. They're trying to teach our children all these things that we don't want our children taught. They're trying to sexualize our children. They're trying to tell our children that there are more than two genders. They're trying to tell our children that if you're an 8-year-old boy, you can turn into an 8-year-old girl if you want to, and your parents shouldn't have anything to say about it. Like, that's the type of things that they're teaching our children. So have you had well, I know you told me about the experience you had with the pronouns. Have you had any other experiences as a parent in terms of this indoctrination?
Yes. So recently, our school board released a booklet, which is the LGBTQ plus support guide. And in this guide, it says that your 5-year-old, because it's for kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. So your 5-year-old, your kindergartner, you send them off to school and you think that they're excited and, all these things. And they could be, I don't know, playing around one day and say, oh, I'm going to be your biological girl could say, oh, I'm going to be a boy. Well, instead of the teacher correcting that child, and instead of them saying, no, being a girl is great, or being a boy is great. There's, look at all the things you get to do being a girl, like, instead of instilling, the truth into them that, no, you are a girl or you are a boy, they are saying that they will affirm the child. They will affirm the child's new gender, and they do not have to tell the parent. They let the child totally direct what way this goes. And this is from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. I could not believe that I was, what I was reading. It feels like we are in a upside down world. It's absurd. There was a point in time where school boards and teachers, we used to try to come together and talk to one another about what was going on with the children, so we could help them be, make sure that we were providing the best for them. Like, like if there is a death in the family, like, you send a letter to your child's teacher, hey, this happened. Let me know if my child is behaving differently, so you can get them some help. If there is something, if they're taking it particularly hard or whatever. Now it's like your child could be, changing genders or trying to, and they will not tell you. I mean, it is indicative of where we are in the world. I mean, who would have thought 5 years ago that, this is where we would be.
So what is the point of that? What is the point of not telling the parent? What do you think?
Well, on the outside of the booklet, it says every school, every classroom, every student, every day. And every student, the word student is rainbowed.
Really?
Yes. I mean, if that's not an agenda, I'm like, I don't know how clear they have to be. Every school, every classroom, every student, every day. So So this is the focus, not math, not language arts every day, not reading every day, not science every day, not, health every day, not PE LGBTQ plus every day.
Wow.
I am, out of everything, I think that that phrase, that mission statement, I guess, is what stuck with me the most. It just won't leave my mind. I'm floored. It's right on the front. This is what we're doing, everybody. And you show this to people, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, they don't really mean that."
Yeah.
So in my opinion, this is a concerted effort to push this LGBTQ plus ideology. I am not sure what the goal is. I mean, I have my own theories,
Mm-hmm.
but it is not, it is wicked. Why would you why is this one particular group just lifted up? I mean, everywhere in the schools, it's all plastered everywhere, the flags everywhere, just, the rainbows everywhere, I mean, you see it all, it's everywhere. Why is it
Yeah.
only, I mean, it's only one group. Surely other kids can be bullied. Surely anybody else can be harassed. Anybody else
Right.
can go through the same things, because they put all of this under the guise of, well, the LGBTQ students are being harassed and bullied and all this stuff. It's like, okay, well, that can happen to other children too. Why does this particular group only get the warrant, the
Special
booklet?
treatment.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah. I mean, people will say, well, there were always this amount of LGBTQ kids. And I'm like, I went to school in the late 80s and 90s, and I don't remember any students throughout my well, when I went to high school, I do remember some, but like elementary school, middle school, I don't remember any students that were like openly gay in the 90s. So why are there openly gay students now? I don't think it's that students, oh, well, all of a sudden feel more comfortable now. No, I think it's an agenda that's being pushed. I think these kids are seeing things that are causing them to go in that direction. I believe that, everybody wants to feel like they belong to some kind of community, right? Like that's a human thing where you want to feel like you belong. Nobody wants to feel ostracized. Nobody wants to feel alone. So this LGBTQ community has presented itself as a new community that people can feel a part of. And when they're a part of it, they feel proud, they feel like they belong. So there's a lot of incentive for these kids to become LGBTQ. I know my cousin, his daughter, she's like 13 years old. She came out to him and said that she was a pansexual. Like, I was like, what is a pansexual? So basically, a pansexual is someone who's attracted to everybody. Like, no matter what you could be trans, you could be straight, you could be a girl, you could be a boy, you could be a gender non-binary. Like, they're just attracted to everybody. I'm like, why does a 13-year-old know what this is?
Exactly.
Because this stuff is being pushed. This stuff is everywhere. It's like we can't avoid this propaganda. So,
right.
And it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. Like, I can understand if that's something you are and there was nothing you can do about it and nobody quote unquote turned you out. It was just like something you couldn't help, right? But
Right.
I don't think that's the case in 2021. I think a lot of these kids are coming out because they want to feel a part of something, and a part of something is the LGBTQ community. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially when you see them have all these special privileges. I mean,
Yeah.
they have flags everywhere. They got, you can't say anything to them. They can say anything they want to anybody else.
Yeah, they're
but you can't say
protected.
anything to them. Yeah,
They're the most
they are.
protected group in the country.
Yep. And so, I mean, for a young mind who is like trying to take this all in and understand it and feel like, okay, I mean, kids already struggle with trying to find who they are and stand up
Yeah,
on their own two
themselves. Yep.
feet
Yep.
and figure this whole thing out as a teenager.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to be the on the outside, like you were saying, they want to be included, they want to be a part of something, because they don't, no one likes to feel kind of like out there by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives them an opportunity to do that. And they see all their friends doing it. And kids, because they're children, they don't understand the ramifications of indulging, even if it's heterosexual, sexual things that they're doing. If that outside, in my opinion, those things belong, especially to adults, whether
Yeah.
you think it's in marriage or whatever, but it certainly belongs,
To
for
adults.
that is
Yeah.
an adult topic.
Yep.
And so they are inundated with these, with all of this stuff
Yep.
all the time, every day, every classroom, and it's almost like that's the only thing they're being fed.
Right.
And so of course there are going to be more kids coming out. Of course they're going to feel like it's normal. And what I was going to say is they don't understand that the responsibility that comes with making these types of decisions, the ramifications, of what the types of things that they are opening themselves up to. It's just, that is not good for kids. That is
Right.
awful for kids. Part of me feels like there's some other sinister, maybe this is just my conspiratorial mind part of me,
Nope.
but
I'm gonna go there with you. Come on, let's go.
because I don't understand why there would be so much of a coordinated, concerted push to push this on children. There's so much, like sex trafficking and,
Mm-hmm.
children missing and things like that. It just makes me wonder, like, is this all just so it's like they're going to easily be led astray into, these awful situations, that because they're so open now to like any and everything,
Right.
they won't even know to like protect themselves from, okay, like this is not right, like if like I think you said your cousin's daughter,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and she's like, okay, well, I'm pansexual now, so some guy, or some person that is of malintent is
Mm-hmm.
coming towards her or means her harm, because she's, oh, well, now my mind is open and I'm just going to be, my mind is so open that my brain's going to fall out. It's
Yep.
like, oh, I'm just so open now. I'm open to anything. And so you invite a person that could do you harm, instead of you being your natural instinct. You've totally dropped that now, of dropped
Right.
that wall of protecting yourself because you want to be open and accepting. You let this person into you and they do you harm. And
Right.
so it's like, I feel like it's a way to just set kids up to be taken advantage of, much easier than it would be in a normal circumstance. I don't know. I know that's kind of far out there,
Yeah, no,
but
that's a good point. That's a good point. My conspiracy kind of goes a different direction, but I believe it's all a political plot. When you look at the Democrat Party and the type of individuals that vote Democrat, so of course you have immigrants, Hispanics vote Democrat, so that's why they want to push illegal immigrants into the country, because they figure that they're vote Democrat.
Yeah.
When you look at the LGBTQ community, are they voting Republican? No, they're voting Democrat. So the more LGBTQ individuals that they can get, the more Democrat voters they're going to get. So they're going to start early and have your kids turn LGBTQ, so they'll vote Democrat later. That's why their attack is on straight, white, Christian males. because the majority of straight white Christian males vote what? Republican.
That's
So
true.
their attack is on straight white Christian males because they vote Republican.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep the black community because they know they'll vote Democrat. But as you
Right.
know, right now, they don't really give a crap about the black community anymore
Yeah.
because they feel like they have the black community in the bag. Now they have this new group that they're going after, the LGBTQ community. And they figured, well, we can convert everybody over to be a part of the LGBTQ community. So it's not like, yeah, you're born a straight male, so that we can't really do anything about them. But if we get you when you're in elementary school and high school and tell you how great it is to be gay, how great it is to be trans, now they're converting the straight males and making them a part of the LGBT community. So then they'll vote Democrat. So I just think it's all a political plot to get more people to vote Democrat. I believe everything that you see Democrats like really championing is for votes. It's it. Everything you see them doing is for votes. So if you see them backing anything, just know it's for votes.
I understand that. I definitely see that. And also I would say too, to weaken America, because if you don't have strong men, you're not going to have a strong society. If you you're not going to have a strong family. And if you don't have strong families, you're not going to have strong communities. Strong communities, you won't have a strong society. So as we're getting weaker, the men in our country are getting weaker.
Yeah.
Our foreign adversaries are getting stronger. They are not talking about transgenderism. That's nowhere on the list. It does not make the cut. And, it is very concerning how intentionally we are being weakened. And it's a mess. It's wild. It's an amazing time to live, because as a Bible believing woman, you're like, oh my God, this is it. Oh my God, it's happening. So it's exciting because it's like, wow, this is it. This is happening. But at the same time, it's like, oh my gosh, this is happening. It's going down. So yeah, it's wild.
Yep. It definitely is wild. But hey, we can try and try to fix things and do something about it. But I mean, I think it's written. It was already written, right?
Oh yeah, it definitely was. I think, because people say that sometimes, they're like, "Oh, Keisha, why do you need to fight this thing? Because we already know what the Bible says, or we already know how this story ends." And I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? Lay down and die? Jesus says, he's like, occupy until I come, meaning handle my business until I come back. I'm like, got it, sir. I'm on it. So, no, I don't think we should just wrap it up and be like, oh, why live anyway? Why do anything if yes, we all know how the story is going to end, those of us who believe in the word of God. And that would mean that there would be no purpose to do anything. Why would you go to work? Right. Oh, well, I know it's gonna happen. Why, so it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And I believe in, we have to save as many people as we can, right? That's part of our obligation, to save as many people as we can. And I think through what you're doing, through what I'm doing here, I think that's a first step. Sometimes you can't get people with just giving them the word. Sometimes you have to spoon feed them a little bit to kind of get them to change their mentality, to open their mind up to the things that the Bible will have to offer them. And I think doing this right here and getting people to understand like what's going on in the world and how it relates to the bigger picture, I think is definitely a good way to go. And especially what you've been doing, speaking up. I mean, I want to kind of talk about that a little bit. You know, you had that viral video and you stood with Ron DeSantis. So how was that whole experience? Because I won't lie, I kind of want him to be the next presidential candidate on the Republican side. I love Trump. Don't get me wrong. I love Trump, but I think Ron DeSantis would be kind of more of a sure win for us. But what happened there, and how was that experience?
Oh my gosh. So I've seen him, I've met him, that this is my third time, but this was
Okay.
the first time that I actually like stood next to him and
Yeah.
and actually spoke. But it was amazing. I mean, I can't imagine doing that every day, you know, just watching him handle the press and watching
Yeah.
him, you know, just watching the whole thing and all the stuff that he has to know. And I'm watching him like do this pretty much off the cuff. I'm like, dang, this guy is good. Like when you see it like live, I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
he's very good at his job. He really knows his stuff. I mean, he had, you know, some notes, but a lot of the stuff he was just like off the cuff. I mean, I was so nervous.
Yeah.
After it was done, I didn't say anything of the things that I really wanted to say. Anyway, I mean, but it was an amazing experience. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope I get to do that again. I feel like I need to redeem myself. But it was, you know, just to see where God has, you know, taken me from, you know, from that moment where I was like, I don't want to be in politics. Like, that's crazy. To standing with like the governor of the nation, you know, the most popular governor probably in the nation, and you know, the great governor of Florida. I mean, just beyond, I thank God. I'm like, wow. I tell people all the time, when God says go, do it.
Yeah.
Like when he says go, do it.
Yeah.
So it was amazing. And, you know, just the work that we've started with this mass exodus movement is incredible. So many people I can't take credit, you know, so many people have paved the way and made this an easier journey for parents now. It's like God is such a great God that he's already put all of these resources and all of these things in place for parents to, you know, get their children out of these environments so they can just go right into these co-ops or homeschooling or what, you know, private school or whatever option they choose. But there are so many things out there. And Governor DeSantis has been always a huge proponent of school choice and encouraging parents to really be involved in their children's education. He signed the Parents' Bill of Rights, which gives parents, which is why the LGBTQ plus support guide is so wrong, because in the Parents' Bill of Rights that we have in Florida, it says that you cannot keep pertinent information like that from parents. So they're totally breaking the law.
Yeah.
You know, they're totally breaking the law. And I think that I'm pretty sure that the governor will be made aware of what's going on so we can get this all straightened out. But, you know, he's been such a strong advocate for parents' rights, you know, to make sure that we know what's going on in schools.
Yeah, definitely. So was he or is he a nice guy? Like I know I see him on TV. He seems like a cool guy, but is he a nice guy in person?
Very much, him and his wife. So the first time I met them, this was during the 2020 campaign, and so I sing too. So I sang the national anthem for 4 Trump rallies. So
nice.
The first one that I did was here. Thank you. The first one that I did was here in Jacksonville. So me and the governor and the other speakers were like backstage. And I was like, oh, Mr. Governor, do you mind if I get a picture with you? He was like, yeah. He pulled me in like so tight, like he's known me for like ever. And I was like, wow. And then his wife, you know, and she came in, and just both of them they don't know a stranger, almost like they're very personable like that. And then I saw him backstage at the Faith and Freedom conference. This was like right after the speech went viral. So he remembered me because he retweeted my speech.
Yeah.
And so we were just laughing backstage again, pulling me, just like, hey, oh, look at you. And then he says my name during his speech. He's like, yes, where's Keisha? Where's she at? And I was like,
that's awesome.
yeah, I just could not believe that he would, just do that. I mean, he didn't have to do that. But they are very nice people.
Well, good. I know
Yeah.
some politicians, I'm like, oh, I'm a fan of them. And then I meet them in person and I'm like, oh, they're a-hole. So
Right.
that threw that off. So
Right.
I'm glad he's a good person because
Yeah.
like I said, that's my candidate, but we won't get into that. So I know you have an organization. It's called Moms for Liberty. Is that right?
Yes, I'm a part of it. It's not my
Okay.
organization. I'm a
Well, something you're a part of. Yeah.
Yes. I'm a spokesmom for Moms for Liberty. They started Moms for Liberty in this year, 2020, like early this year.
Mhm.
And the co-founder, she was at one of our Republican women's meetings and talking about children and our, what's going on in the schools. And me and my big mouth, I stood up because someone had asked, what are we going to do about our kids? And I was like, I tell you, go to the school board and let them know what you have you pay these people, like they work for you. Go down there and let them know what's up. And they were like, yes, we need you. I'm like, no. So I was like, no, I got a lot of, I had just started my company, I have my own children.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I didn't want to take on not one more thing. But it was, it's just one of those things. They're like, well, just do it temporarily, whatever. And so, but I love them. I love the group. It's growing really, really fast. They've done a phenomenal job. So it's Moms for Liberty, and you can go to momsforliberty.org. For more information. You can start your own chapter. They have a lot of, good resources for parents to, get involved and stand up for your kids.
Yep, absolutely. Got to do that. You heard her. Go to momsforliberty.org.
Yes.
I mean, there are a lot of conservative moms out there, and they reach out to me all the time, and they don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. They don't feel like they have anybody that's on their side that know what they're going through as a conservative mom, with everything that's going on in the schools, with everything that's going on in our country. So having a way to kind of, fellowship with fellow conservatives, I think it's great. So definitely if you can get involved, anybody out there listening, if you can get involved in any type of organization, I think it's very beneficial. Definitely reaching out to people who are of like minds, because being a conservative in this crazy, crazy world, in this crazy, crazy time could make you go crazy. Like literally, like you think you're crazy because you're, if you're at work, if you're at any kind of like organization, any kind of event or whatever, it usually seems like the majority of people do not think like you. I don't know if it's like that in Florida, but out here in Houston, Texas, when I go to work, it's like, I feel like I'm the only one who feels the way I do about everything that's going on. So it's a really lonely feeling. So being able to connect with like-minded people is vitally important. So make sure you guys do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I first told my family, this was like right after the 2016 election, when I had this whole revelation, I'm like, thinking I'm going to go and share all this with my family and they're going to sing my praises of helping me bring them out from the Democrats and all that. And I'm thinking yes, I figured it out. Yep. We've been voting for the wrong people. We can't vote for these people. They don't even believe what we believe. Like, why are we voting for them? They're like, my mom was like, oh my God, she's drank the Kool-Aid. And so I thought they were going to be like, yeah, let's go. Let's get them.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
Well, see, I'm glad you did it in 2016, I did it at the height of Trump derangement syndrome. So yeah, mine was probably a lot worse because Trump
Oh,
had been
wow.
president for a few years, and people in the media had been feeding him all these lies and making people go crazy. So when I
Mm.
came out as a Trump supporter in 2019, I got a lot of backlash. I lost some friends. I had family members that didn't want to talk to me anymore. Like, I got a lot of backlash for it. So, but that's all right. That's all right. I got thousands of new friends and family. So I'm good. I'm good.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one more question I wanted to ask you, but it's kind of slipping my mind. Um,
Okay.
oh, well, what advice do you have for conservative mothers or mothers that feel like you do?
So if I could give any advice, I would say this. I would say you don't want to look back on your life and regret not doing everything that you could do for your child in a time when it mattered the most.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you're thinking that's going on in your child's school, it's worse. I
Yeah.
guarantee you. There are so many things that are going on in these schools that parents are not even aware of. It is sickening. I'll give you one story. We already know what happened with the family in Virginia.
Yeah.
In Florida, there was a third grader who was being sexually assaulted by another third grader.
Mm-hmm.
The administration knew, the teachers knew, no one told the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Not only was their child being sexually assaulted, that child, the boy was assaulting other children as well. So clearly he was going through something and he was causing all these other traumas on these other babies, third graders, 8 years old. The only way that the parents knew was their daughter she started wetting the bed. She started regressing in her, behavior. But who knows how long it had even been going on at this point. And the parents had no clue. So I am saying to parents, mothers, fathers, concerned citizens, aunts, uncles, brothers, you need to be involved. You need to know what's going on in these schools because the drugs, the sex, the
Yep.
the all of the LGBTQ stuff, all of the political stuff, all the just not even being taught reading, writing, math, just the bad, they're not even, children are graduating and don't even know how to read. It is really bad. So you do not want your children to continue in these toxic learning environments
Yeah.
and you not have a clue what's going on and your child is sitting there every day suffering and you don't find out until years later and by then it's too late. So I would encourage you all to get involved. I say have a mass exodus because I think that's the only thing that's there that they are really going to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And we can start reforming these school boards and get some good, in my view, conservative people who really believe in the Constitution, who believe in teaching children an accurate history, reading, writing, science, STEM, all of these things. So they are prepared to go on to the next phases of their lives. Yes, I would say get involved. Don't let this moment pass. Do not wait for the system, the school system to get better because it's not going to. It's not going to save you. You have to change it.
Right.
So get in there, get involved.
Absolutely. That was very well said. Very well said. Now, I've heard Candace Owens kind of echo that same sentiment about exiting the public school system.
Mhm.
And I guess the question that always pops into my mind, what other options are there for parents? If you have two parents that are working, or if you have a single parent household and that parent is working, what options do you know of are out there for people to exit the public school system?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked this question. So I started a website. It's called massexodusmovement.com.
Mhm.
And it's a resources page where it gives you the first steps of what to do, because I mean, it's not a one size fits all. So just because you pull your children out, it doesn't mean that you want them to go to private. It doesn't mean that you
Yeah.
have to homeschool. It doesn't mean that you're going to do the homeschooling co-ops, the micro schools. There are so many options out there that I want parents to know exactly, where to go for whatever thing is going to be best for them. For some, it will be private, some homeschooling, some co-ops. There's a ton of resources. Like I said, there are so many people that have paved the way long before I did. Homeschooling, the pulling your kids out of public schools does not look like what it looked like 10 years ago, 5 years ago. This is a well advanced system. I
Very
was
good.
blown away how many options are out there. It's almost too many options. You know what I mean? It's so much out there that there's grants for kids, because people are like, oh, I can't afford this, or I don't qualify for that. There's grants out there. There are organizations that will help you. There are some good Americans in this country who literally have donated their time and their money and their life to educating children outside of the public school system, because they found out a long time ago that it was trash, and they were like, we're done. And they have paved the way for us now in this time of severe need where we need to move them out. And it's already laid out. God has already laid the way, for so many parents to provide a great education and a safe place for their kids, a real safe place for their kids to get a good education. So they can go to massexodusmovement.com, and we've got some resources there. We're adding on to it all the time. Because like I said, there's a lot to, there's a lot of information out there, but what's there are great places for you to get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the information. Y'all heard it. Your kids don't have to be in public school to deal with this BS that's going on. So please visit that website. All right, Keisha. Well, I really, really appreciate you coming on. This was a great conversation. Before we close out, I want you to give your final words and tell everybody where they can follow you, where they can reach you, stuff like that.
Sure. So my final words, I guess, will be God bless everyone. I pray that God gives you the vision that you need for your children, for yourself, for your life, so that you can go on to do whatever he calls you to do. So you can find me. I am on Twitter at I am Keisha K. I'm on Twitter or Instagram at I'm Keisha K. YouTube, I just started doing more of my YouTube, and that's just Keisha King, and my name is spelled with a Q, Quisha. And I'm on Getter. I am, let's see, where else am I? I don't know, just Google Keisha King and
Google her.
Google, yeah. And then you'll find me. And I respond to a lot of comments. I try to stay pretty engaged with people who are asking questions and trying to figure out, what to do, so I can help them be of assistance to people who are, trying to figure it out.
Very good. Very good. All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you where you can find me. You can find me on Instagram at the Right Winged Angel. You can find me on Twitter, Oliver Mack RWA. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on, I don't know where else I am, but just Google me and I'll come up. Google Right Winged Angel and I'll come up. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate our guest, Miss Keisha King. Oh, by the way, I got merch. So you go to my website. I forgot about the website. I always forget about that. So go to rightwingedangel.com and you can find my merch there and a bunch of other cool stuff. So yeah, and we can connect. It's very, very important to build community, especially a conservative community, people who are of like mind. So we can all come together and help fight this fight together. All right, everyone. So please be sure to like this video, comment on this video, and share with all your family and friends, because it's very, very important that we get this very important message out there to as many people as we possibly can. All right. Well, until the next video, we'll catch you later. Peace.